This is a lesson from our Storyboarding Foundations course. To get the full course, go to bloopanimation.com/storyboardingfoundations.
We're about to look more closely at the nitty-gritty of how to compose shots in the right way to serve the story. But before we do that, I want to think about a big question. Why does film work? In a basic way, why does it work as a medium at all in the first place? If you were sitting in a chair or walking around outside, and the image in front of your eyes was constantly changing or shifting to different perspectives every few seconds, it would drive you crazy. So why isn't all film just incomprehensible nonsense? Well, it's for a very simple reason. Film doesn't merely recreate how we see, film recreates how we think. Even though your senses pull in a continuous stream of point-of-view information, your brain ends up editing and synthesizing that information in various ways into what you actually experience in your mind. Your memories, thoughts, and imagination aren't that continuous point-of-view video feed. They're a tapestry of specific images, emotional impressions, and associations. So what the best films do is pre-edit the stream of images and sounds that the viewer will experience so that they will understand and emotionally connect with the meaning of the film the same way they do with their own thoughts. Now that might sound like a pretentious and preposterously difficult thing to do, but all it really means is that when we're conceiving shots for our boards, keep track of two things. Does this shot deliver the right information that the audience should have in mind at this moment? And is this shot emotionally or tonally correct for how the audience should feel at this point? Now, of course, a big part of the responsibility for those things comes from the story writer crafting a well-told story in the first place. But that's a little outside the scope of this course, so we're just going to have to assume you're working from a good script or at least a good story outline. So if you have your story, before you start drawing, there are some things you need to make sure that you understand. For one, the story itself. What is the journey we're going on, and how does the progression of scenes take us there? Then you need to understand the specific scene you're working on. What is the point of this scene to the unfolding of the story, and what does the scene need to accomplish to fulfill its role? What changes between the start of the scene and the end? Something always changes over the course of a scene, even if it's only the audience's understanding. And of course, you need to understand the specifics about what's being described happening within the scene. Then you need to understand the specific shot. What's the point of the shot within the scene? How can your shot choices reflect that change that's meant to happen over the course of the scene? Be aware that shots and scenes can have multiple points. It might deliver exposition while also providing characterization, or it might raise the stakes of a conflict while also shifting the story to a more serious tone. Points are like dots that need to be connected properly to make the finished story, and the craft of filmmaking is how we connect those dots. If they don't get connected well enough, we don't get a good overall impression of the story. That brings us to an important point about how we smoothly connect those dots. We've talked about what you need to include, but now let's talk about pitfalls to avoid. In his book, Directing the Story, Disney storyboard artist Francis Glebus describes what he calls the threshold of awareness. This is the line where the audience stops thinking about the story being told and instead starts thinking about who is telling it or how it's being told. And crossing that threshold is caused by what I call mental friction. Mental friction is anything that keeps our pre-edited stream of images and sounds from turning into thoughts in the viewer's head. It could be something broad, like information being introduced too late, causing confusion, misunderstanding a character's motivations, the tone of scenes shifting uncomfortably, or it could be something really specific, like a character being drawn off model, or continuity between scenes being off, or editing making it hard to follow what's happening. So, to avoid mental friction, as you conceive and draw each panel, constantly be asking yourself, how is this drawing working narratively, and how is it working visually? Because those two questions are closely related. Narratively, does the shot contain the right information? Is that information consistent with the shots around it? Is the shot choice appropriate for what characters are saying and doing, and how you want the viewer to feel about it? Visually, are you using the rules of composition so that the viewer sees the information they're supposed to and picks up the emotional tone they're supposed to? And are elements arranged so that when your shots are cut together, it will be comfortable and not confusing? Those aren't always easy questions to answer, so in the rest of the videos in this section, we're going to go over exactly how to use the rules of composition and editing to support your story points.